Can you believe it? We are finally to the end of our Southeast Collision Conference series. The interviews I've done are amazing, and today's is no different. It's our last one, and it's with Kyle Bradshaw, the president of the Carolinas Collision Association. He also works at K&M Collision. And we chatted about a few things that happened during the whole conference, and I asked him what he felt stood out more than anything at the conference. And I guess this one item caused quite a ruckus. So I know that you are curious to know what it is, as you should be. So stay tuned so you can find out and see how you weigh in on the topic.
Welcome to Body Bangin', your podcast for all things body. Auto body, that is. And now, introducing Body Bangin's host, Mickey Woods of Mickey Woods Marketing. Mickey is a former auto collision center owner and is now a marketing and business development expert to shops across the globe.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of the Body Bangin' podcast. On today's episode, I have Kyle Bradshaw with me. Hi, Kyle.
Hello, hello.
Hello. So he just finished up the Southeast Collision Conference, and he's actually the president of the Carolinas Collision Association and also the Fix Ops director over at K&M Collision. And where exactly is your shop at?
So we're in Hickory, North Carolina.
Okay. Hickory, North Carolina.
That's right.
I love the accent.
You got to say it with a little twang. That's right.
Yeah. So many things I could ask you about. I know you just finished this amazing event, such great speakers, and Kyle helped put it on. He's actually the owner of the whole Southeast Collision Conference. And based off of the speakers and everybody that I've talked to, what an amazing lineup. Such good information. I so wish I could have been there. I have a feeling people are going to watch these and be like, I need to be at that next year.
Well, that's the hope, right? Hopefully we can gain a little bit of momentum, and we're already talking about next year and kicking ideas around and doing that. So it's been awesome.
Awesome. So I just wanted to ask you real quick, because I didn't talk to anybody yet about the final session that you guys had there. And that was basically a Q&A, right from the audience. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. So the idea, we kind of wanted to do it like it was a water cooler chat, or, like we're sitting in the room and just able to kind of pick people's brains, right?
Yeah,
so
hang out.
On that final panel, we had Mike Anderson with Collision Advice, Kristen Felder with Collision Hub, and then Michael Bradshaw, who's on the SCRS board, and then also the vice president here at K&M Collision as well. So we had some really great people to be able to ask questions to, and we wanted just to provide like an open space for anybody that was attending that just had. And anything, was able to be asked. There was nothing that was off topic. And so it was really good. There was a lot of really good conversation fostered, and there was, it was real. And I think that's what people in our industry are really looking for. And so that was probably one of my favorite things of the conference, was being able to provide that space for our members and also for anybody that attended. So it was a really cool thing.
I bet. Yeah, that's my favorite type of thing, of just ask anything you got. Yeah. We're here. Let's just chit chat. So in that session, was there one particular thing or any couple of things that you felt like really stood out?
So I think the thing that stood out the most was this idea of a waiver of liability. If you don't know about the safety inspections and the evolving things in collision repair, you're probably hiding under a rock at this point in time.
Right.
And so that was a really good conversation, just because we're faced with that from a repair standpoint, right? Like, maybe this manufacturer requires the steering column to be replaced, but then you have an insurer that may say that we know better, it doesn't need to be replaced, or we're not paying for that.
Right.
And then that puts the customer in a predicament, puts the shop in a predicament, because the shop feels like, well, if the OE is saying I need to do this, then I need to do this. And then if the customer's like, well, I don't care what the OE says, it's my vehicle, I don't want it done. And so it created a lot of really good, just real and wholesome conversation. And obviously there's differing opinions on the issue. And I think that's probably what made that even better for us, right? From a association, we're eating that stuff up. So so it was really good. Yeah. And that was probably I think the main takeaway that for anybody that was in the room, that's probably what they remember from that conversation.
So is that something that you guys do at your shop? Is have a release of liability form for somebody that doesn't want to?
It is not. So we err on the side if the OE says it needs to be done. We view ourselves as an extension of that brand, and so we're gonna wholeheartedly go with that. And if it's a customer that doesn't want that done, we'll gladly try to refer them somewhere else or whatever has to happen. But we will not usually perform those repairs. So
gotcha. Yeah, but I can understand why a lot of shop owners would want that waiver because, maybe they're not in a position to just refer out or they've already potentially even started on something and now they're told to stop. There's obviously a lot. It gets to be.
There's definitely There's two sides to that and there's two thoughts. And I think right now everybody's got, more work than they can handle. Right. That's the way it is across the country. And so, I'm sure that probably influences people's decision. And so, it's definitely a touchy subject, I guess, to say the least. And so, BMW has basically come up with a waiver from their end on like a steering gear replacement that the customer and the insurer, I believe, are supposed to both sign. And so that was actually brought up in that panel discussion. So, I mean, there's things like that out there and obviously the invasiveness of repairs and if something, what seems like a minor accident to maybe, a lay person, from a collision repair standpoint, well, now you're telling me you got to pull the headliner, pull the steering wheel, pull the airbags and things like that, check all these things. And so to a general consumer, that probably does seem, really invasive, but for us, we try to err on the side of if the OE says it needs to be done and I can point to it, that's the hill I'm going to die on. So when we lay our head to rest at night, like we can sleep with a little bit of peace, a little bit more peace anyways, than understanding like, hey, we've done what they said to do. And so that's our personal thought on it from a K&M collision standpoint. And then for CCA, right? Like we want to provide everybody as many resources and training and equipment, whatever needed for them to make that decision for themselves.
So on a different note, but kind of similar, if you have people that are, shops that are listening to this and kind of realize, because there were so many different associations that came together for this, which is a really cool thing. What do you feel like your shops benefit from being a part of your association besides just like the big events that you guys put on?
Sure. Yeah. So I think the biggest thing is just being able to connect with like-minded individuals and like the networking aspect of it.
Yeah.
For me personally, that's a really big, like a really big benefit. And then two, it's like, we're not reinventing the wheel, right? Like everybody goes through very similar struggles and very similar triumphs, and being able to share those with one another and have a space where, hey, we can voice this or we can, bounce ideas off of one another. And it's greater than even like the events are great, right? The meetings are great, whatever. But being able to build the camaraderie and those relationships with people to where if I got an issue Monday morning at 9 a.m. and I feel like I need to reach out to somebody, being able to call, somebody from our association that may have a shop and may have a similar, situation to what I'm doing. And so just being able to bounce some of that stuff off, I think that's probably where the real value is at. And then obviously the meetings are great. The training's great. Like all that stuff is an added value. But to me, the most important piece of it's really just the networking and being able to build those relationships with people.
Hey, would you like to increase the number of cars in your drive? Well, look no further. The Mickey Woods marketing team provides collision center specific marketing. We use proven techniques to not only increase your sales, but put money in your pocket. Visit us at collisioncentermarketing.com, or you can find my personal contact information in the show notes. And let's get your 2022 off to a body banging start. I'm kind of like hearing like the support system.
Yeah. It's huge.
like we're so many shops are like in like so independent on an island. And then sometimes it takes going to one of these conferences or like a symposium to be like, oh, okay, I'm not alone in this. This is so great. And then you chit chat with other people. And I know as a former shop owner, I learned so much. I still do. I love them. Every time I go, I learn something, and and sometimes it's just ideas. Like, what are other people doing? How are you handling this? Because like you said, we're not reinventing the wheel. We're all dealing with very similar issues in our own way. But I love that concept of having the support, because oftentimes you feel like, oh, it's just me and I've got to figure this out.
Yes. Yeah.
And that can be really scary.
That's probably, the overarching theme from the majority of our members is it's kind of like, before they were apart and now that they are apart. And a lot of them even use that exact same phrase that you just used as far as being on an island. A lot of times you feel isolated. You feel like you're the only one. A lot of times you're told that you're the only one. And so, if you're told something enough, you probably start to believe it a little bit. So, we're really trying hard to reverse that narrative and to make sure that like people know, hey, if you've got an issue, like, and we embrace that, at CCA, like that's something that we're proud of. And so we want to try to, be a resource for people. And so, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's cool. So before I let you go, because I know you got a busy day ahead of you, I want to ask you, what is something that you guys do at your shop that you feel like might be different than what other people are doing? Is there one thing that you feel like?
So I personally feel like we do a really good job of understanding the policy. We do a really good job of understanding the, particular administrative code or general statutes in our state. And ultimately, we just try to educate our consumer, on the process and try to inform them, of things that are to happen, right? And so I think that us being able to do that really just builds instant trust with a lot of consumers, because we do this every day. And so we take pride in the fact that we are the repair professional. Right. And unfortunately, the way that things work now is we have to be the claim professional as well.
Right.
And so we do a really good job of, trying to educate our customer of their rights and whatever that may be, whether it's under the policy or if it's a third party claim, we want to make sure that they're aware of that. And I think we just try to go above and beyond in that aspect.
Yeah.
Obviously, anybody's going to tell you they do great work. And, we pride ourselves on our quality just like anybody else. But I think that being able to kind of be an advocate for your customer is huge in this day and age. And so we're going to try to go to bat for our people, all the time. So.
Yeah. And I had Michael, your brother, on and interviewed him, and he talked a little bit about it. And one thing I didn't realize is in North Carolina, how all of the insurance companies have to have their policy.
The same policy.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's different for a lot of other states. So it makes it a little bit easier for you guys, a little more complex than other states.
Yeah. So I think the most important part of that too is So no customers given their actual policy until they actually pay to take the policy out. It's extremely hard to get your hands on a policy. So it definitely is an advantage for us. And so, reading that thing front to back and understanding, all the lingo and obviously that it applies, unilaterally across the state is important.
Right.
But, the majority of states, so with us being CCA, South Carolina falls under that. And South Carolina is not a standard form state. So we have a lot of members that, they may be juggling 6 or 7 different auto policies.
Right.
And, some of the verbiage can be different. And it definitely is a lot to take on. But, at the end of the day, that's contractually, obviously everybody understands that's what's in writing and that's what they're, they have to go by. And so, we try to educate, our members on policy language and on some of that stuff. And so, yeah, we definitely have a little bit of an advantage, but we're still, I think we're still a little bit above everybody else when it comes to understanding that and being able to apply it and to help our customer with it. So.
Yeah. Well, I think even for, I'm in California, so things are just crazy in general here.
Yeah, that's right.
Just across the board. But I think even just some basic general knowledge would be so helpful. Like you said, where we're at now, we're expected to be claims professionals as well. Yeah. And so even just some basic knowledge, just to be able to understand what what your guest is going through to
Yeah.
help them with the process, I
Right.
think could be amazing. Now, in your shop, is that just kind of falling on your writers, your estimators to be giving that information out? Who usually
So
does that?
we're very, very different, and from an industry standpoint, what most people do in the industry. So we are very specialized and segmented here, and that applies to technicians. So most of our techs are strictly just disassembly, reassembly technicians. We've got a structural tech, and like if he has to remove a bumper to do his job, we failed, in our process, right? So
Right.
we really try to specialize in that. And the same thing to do with the front end operation. So we have customer service reps, and really their main job is to build rapport with the customer and just keep the customer up to date,
Right.
throughout the repair process. They're not writing estimates or anything like that. And so we really alleviated the front end estimating as much as we possibly can. So we really just try to focus on selling the customer on our process, which is, we use 100% OEM parts and some of the things we've already talked about as far as
Right.
going about and things like that. Right. And so, they're very well versed in explaining these things to the customer as well. And then obviously if things get escalated or if there's a dispute or things like that, then people generally get to talk to me before Michael, and then things get really, really interesting. Then Michael will get involved. So,
Yeah.
but we have a great team here, and they've bought into the education and some of the things that we preach, throughout the industry. They've
Right.
bought into that and do an excellent job, explaining that to the customer as well, to where we don't necessarily have to take part in that conversation on a day-to-day basis, but
Right.
we're certainly glad to step in if we need to.
Yeah. Very cool. I love always hearing about how each shop does things. It's so
Sure.
neat to hear,
Yeah.
especially successful shops like yourselves that are doing well. You have a lot of certifications. You're dealing with a lot of different components. And it's always interesting how you deal with staffing, how you deal with your culture. Like, I'm going to have
Yeah.
you back on, you and Michael, and
Oh,
I can pick your brains more.
I'm looking forward to it. Anytime you let
Okay.
us know.
All right, cool. Well, I will
Awesome.
let you go so you can get back to your busy shop. But I appreciate you taking the time to chat with me and for setting everything up. You and Josh were wonderful helping queue up all of these interviews. And I know that took a lot of time on top of your already busy schedule. So
Sure.
I appreciate you.
We're looking forward to seeing you in person in 2023. So
That's
we're
right.
excited.
I'll be there.
Awesome. Thanks,
All right.
Mickey.
Thanks, Josh. And thanks, everybody, for listening to today's episode of the Body Banging Podcast. And we will see you next time. Bye.
If you enjoyed today's show, make sure you hit the subscribe button. We have some incredible topics and guests coming your way you will not want to miss. If you are watching on YouTube and don't want to miss the latest and greatest, you'll want to hit the bell after subscribing, so you will get a pop-up each time a video podcast goes live. To our devoted fans, would you mind paying it forward and sharing this little gem with someone else you think may benefit from it? Much love from all of us here at Body Bangin', all things auto body.